Welcome to BALLBUSTERS Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you'd like to join the community debate, then go to nathanoakley.com and check out the Flat Earth Debate Forum, which you should definitely all join. If you'd like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now we are joined by Betty, Paula, Adam and Quantum Eraser. Very good to have you all.
Hello. Thanks.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
Ahoy, hoy.
Hello, hello. So we're going to be covering the best bit of Flat Earth, which is the proofs of Flat Earth. So as the title suggests, that's precisely what we're going to be covering today. It's going to be a roller coaster. So if you're not familiar with Flat Earth proofs, these are, without shame or any indulgences beyond what they are, brilliant. They are fantastic. So everyone's going to love them. So where do we start? John?
Well, thank you. Are we going to start already?
Yeah, definitely. Let's get straight into it. There's people out there keen to see Flat Earth proof.
No chit-chat. I'm liking it. All right. Well, first off, these proofs are not scientific evidences. Why? Well, what have we talked about for the past 8 months? Is the Earth flat or is the Earth a sphere? Well, those are what is questions. The scientific method only deals with cause and effect, how I question. So this is off the table with scientific evidence. So like I said, it's not as sexy as scientific evidence, but it's got teeth. So where do we want to begin? Let's start with, I know where to start. I've given this presentation to 3 astrophysicists, a physics teacher, we all know who that is, and you know what I've gotten back besides name calling from the first 2 astrophysicists? Zippo, nada, nothing. I also, as we are always challenged by the Globetards, is to give them, give me your proofs of the flat Earth. So obviously I got that thousands of times, and a few months ago one of the Balltards, challenged me with it, and I said, no problem. I said, here you go. Here's the video of the last time we did these proofs, and just, check it out at your leisure and get back with me, right? So a week passed, and I challenged the person back again. I said, well, have you watched them? The answer was, and we'll keep all names out of this to protect the guilty, I don't watch scary movies. So that's where we're at here. These people are not going to watch this because it's over. That's it. So let's begin. So let's define drop, because of the first 2 proofs, this is going to become critical. And I don't know, like I said before, we talked about this before. It seems that the Balltard spinning space monkeys have forgotten this. It's one of the critical, crucial tenets of their religion. It's vertical drop. Every point along a tangent from your feet drops. That is, vertical drops away from you at 8 inches per mile squared. Right? It's almost shocking. Some people, you say this and they get that deer in the headlights look, like they ever heard of it. I mean, hello? So, and to say dropping vertical or vertically, it's kind of painfully redundant, right? Well, what other way are you going to drop? So from dictionary.com, let's take a look at this. Drop, to fall vertically, have an abrupt descent. From Oxford Dictionary's drop, letter makes something fall vertically. So height, altitude, elevation, mean vertical distance. Vertical, elevation, vertical drop. I don't know why we have to keep on going over this, but we do. Now, the first proof, flight. This is the one I always lead out with when I'm talking to people. Why? Because it's the easiest. Most people have taken flights before, right? An incoherent second grader can reconcile this quite quickly. By the way, you'll never see this. This shouldn't happen on a sphere Earth. This plane is level. Shouldn't happen. So it's already, we could stop right here. Nah, we'll continue. So since the Earth is, as we're told, a sphere 25,000 miles in circumference, radius 3959 miles, then pilots traveling for 1 hour at a typical cruising speed of 500 miles per hour to simply maintain altitude would constantly have to adjust their altitude downwards, to compensate for the curvature and descend on average 2,789 feet every single minute. How'd we get there? Well, how many miles of vertical drop that's geometric must be negotiated over a distance of 500 miles on a ball with a circumference of 25,000 miles? Answer, 31.7 miles. How many feet are in 31.7 miles? Answer, 167,376 feet. So 167,376 feet of vertical drop must be negotiated over 500 miles on Earth. Number one, real world. I'm traveling by commercial flight from Pittsburgh to Atlanta, Georgia for the Super Bowl. Approximate distance, 500 miles. Typical cruising speed, 500 miles per hour. So 500-mile distance at 500 miles per hour. Travel time equals 1 hour. So how many feet of vertical drop per minute on average needs to be negotiated on my trip? Total feet, vertical drop over 500 miles. Again, 167,376 feet. Travel time is 1 hour. It's a simple calculation. 167,376 feet divided by 60 minutes. Answer, 2,789.6 feet. Vertical drop per minute average must be negotiated on my trip. Does this happen? No. The nose on a plane on a typical flight would never get above horizontal, save for takeoff. The sphere is a stone cold fairy tale. B, let's try another example. How many miles of vertical drop, that's geometric, must be negotiated over a distance of 1,000 miles on a ball with a circumference of 25,000 miles? Answer, 128.3 miles. How many feet are in 128.3 miles? Answer, 600,707,424 feet. So 600,777 or 600,077,424 feet of vertical drop must be negotiated over 1,000 miles on Earth. Another real world example. I'm traveling by commercial plane from Pittsburgh to Dallas. Approximate distance, 1,000 miles. Typical cruising speed, 500 miles per hour. So 1,000-mile distance at 500 miles per hour. Travel time of 2 hours equals 120 minutes. So question, how many feet of vertical drop per minute on average needs to be negotiated on my trip? Total feet vertical drop over 1,000 miles is 167,376 feet. Travel time, 2 hours. Simple calc. 600,077,424 feet divided by 120 minutes. Answer, 5,645 feet of vertical drop over a mile drop per minute average must be negotiated by the plane on my trip. It's just that simple. Does this happen? No, of course it doesn't. Alice in Wonderland is more tenable than the honorable ball-tard spinning space monkey religion. The prosecution rests. Simple. You live in a fairy tale. The end. That's it. Comments, questions?
I don't have any. It's dead easy. I mean, it's often, I'm not a pilot, but from my understanding, they have to slightly angle up, unless I'm very much mistaken.
No, you're not mistaken.
Paula, ladies first.
No, not really. I just pointing out the obvious that if a plane is angling up to get lift, it's still going straight and level. It's just, because the plane can be at any angle and still be going forward. So people get confused about that sometimes. But other than that, nope.
Betty?
Yeah, I've seen rebuttals on this topic, and they do something with the equation. And yeah, I'm not a mathematician, and I have problems with numbers. So I know that they do something in a different order, and they say that it only drops for far less. And I think that you've encountered that, John, with these mathematicians that say that it doesn't work, that you calculated it wrong.
Yeah, there isn't too much of a calculation. It's feet divided by minutes, right?
Taking a look at their vertical order, I think, right?
This is the order. There is no other order. Mm-hmm. So what they do is they screw up the 8 inches per mile squared, and they take it 8 inches per mile. They forget to square the miles. That's what they do. Yeah, I remember it now. Yeah. So it's 8 inches per mile.
Yeah, maybe it's better to address this right away before you have to go over these comments again and people doing this all over again.
Yeah, I vaguely remember them doing that. That's exactly what they do. So they think they live on a slope.
All righty. Adam, you got anything?
Yeah, I'd probably be a little contentious here. The numbers are right when you apply it. It's the application and the subdivision into a point. But I don't want to get into too much criticism of the numbers. I think you can do that. If I could share screens for a second, part of the trouble of taking an average over a long flight is you make an assumption that you need to do that every minute based on the length of the flight, but it doesn't quite work like that in terms of time and travel. What does accumulate rather than is angle, and I did a presentation on that based on accelerometer data to kind of show that the flight was level. As you mentioned, there is a slight incline of between 2 and 3 degrees in an airplane, and it's the angular incline. Because, like I say, you can argue the statistics because any statistic you take, if you was to take, say, just over a 2-mile flight, then the amount of drop is less. But that's actually all you need to do is readjust every 2 miles by nosing down. And if you did that every 2 miles, you can negate because you reset the drop. But so I obviously was aware of that argument with regards to those statistics quoted and wanted to first of all make sure that there was no nose downing. Can I share screen for a second, Nath? Is that?
Yeah, of course you can. Just give me a second. You go ahead. I'll set up while you set up, if you know what I mean.
How do you share screen on? Yeah, is it?
Slick.
I forgot. We don't use thingy, do we? Start recording. That's that. Share screen. There we go. That's terrible. Okay, so it's as I said, look. Okay, so I kind of said like the way a plane flies is with an angle of attack. So I basically took a load of accelerometer data on a flight to Italy over 2 hours to just make sure that there was no nose downing, which is the important point with regards to this to reset. If you look at if I just play it from here. Can you see the slides there, Nathan?
Yeah, it all looks good.
Okay, so didn't intend to do this. So obviously if we're flying across the plane just flies straight across in that direction. And there's no angular change with regards to wherever the plane is across its flight when you traverse across a flat plane. The same is not true when you're traversing with the ground curving away from a central, to a central point. So the starting point, gravity is orientated, and I know you'll have to excuse the phraseology, but we're in this mythical world now, which is just to deal with curve. But you can see that what tends to happen is there will be a reorientation, and that's after 1,000 kilometers, you're going to get a 9-degree incline. And that's roughly what I flew, which is quite a significant point. So you can talk statistically in terms of that, but with all of those stats, you kind of have to bear in mind when you're talking drop per minute, it is kind of arguable. I can, from a geeky stats point of view, agree with the criticism, which is why I kind of did that kind of viewpoint of it, that what was important was how actually, if in straight and level flight, if it was, the Earth was curving underneath, no matter what they say, there would be a change in inclination because the plane stays in this basic orientation.
Cool.
Is that it?
Yeah.
What do you mean by reset, and what do you mean by statistical?
So if, for example, you were on a 1,000-kilometer flight, and if after 2 miles, 5 miles, 10 miles even, every 10 miles you nose down, 0.9 of a degree, that would therefore reset and create a realignment with the plane, nosing down so that it was once again flying perpendicular to the supposed shape of the Earth, because the shape of the Earth has changed underneath it. It's no longer perpendicular from the start because it's curved away. Then you would need a 0.9 degree turn after 10 kilometers or so, 100 kilometers. You'd need a 0.9 nose down to realignment. That realignment would then kind of reset the ball curvature calculation because you've realigned, and that's part of the argument that it's set that pilots or ballers would use in saying why that doesn't happen, because it auto realigns. But the point that negates that is that it can only auto realign if you physically nose down. And in straight and level flight, and from the accelerometer data I took there, it shows that the plane always stays between 1 and 3 degrees in an upward incline. It never ever nose down. So therefore you negate the argument that it's any realignment correction to reset the maths.
Yeah. You're talking about a linear drop. This isn't linear, for one thing, and the plane's nose never goes down. So, and unless you're landing,
it's not linear. It's based on the assumption that the down, for want of a better phrase, would actually change as you flew across the flat plane. It down doesn't change its orientation relative to the aeroplane, which is in a separate reference frame and maintaining straight and level flight. However, with regards to down, when you're traversing across a supposed ball which is falling away from you and reorientating down back towards the center of the supposed ball, then the actual direction relative to this plane, which is in fixed and level flight, reorientates backwards. So the net effect would be that your passenger, you see, as you go around, the net center of gravity reorientates based on your traversement. And therefore, the way in which the passenger would experience this would be a ever-increasing steepening feel in the plane. But that's not. I'll
tell you what, Adam. Let's just stop with this right here. Let's talk about this in the after show, because that's preposterous.
It was to back you up in terms of the statistics. Was the point is that it isn't reset.
The key bit that I took was when you actually were on the flight, you didn't experience it nosing down, which is the critical bit.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because no matter what the distance is, you still have to negotiate the drop from point A to point B, period. So I don't care how you statistically maneuver this, right? You still have to negotiate 100 on a 1,000-mile trip, right? 128.3 miles a drop. That's it. Over. So we can talk about
so there's the secondary argument from a pilot with regard to that. So with the straight and level flight, they would argue you can still maintain that 1 to 3 degrees, but reduce altitude by just slightly reducing airspeed. And in doing that would then keep
hold on, both of you. Hold on, because this will go on forever. What John is saying, Adam, is that regardless of the angle change, the ground beneath you has fallen away. So you've then got to presumably catch up with the ground, the extra ground that's dropped away from your position in the air.
Yes, exactly. So that can be mitigated by reduction of airspeed, which causes a reduction in altitude without adjustment of the right. So you've got a reduction of altitude. That's fine, but you're still not twisting the plane so that the center of alignment of gravity isn't being altered by the topography changing underneath.
Which gravity?
You understand that what down is experienced as the direction. If you were traveling across the ball, then the direction would adjust with distance. Yeah, if it was a ball. Now you can mitigate for the high altitude.
Oh my God! Whether it be by nosing down or the speed reduces, you would notice it. If you drop 20 feet in a flight, you notice it, right?
I'm trying to support you, John, but so maybe you're not understanding the point. So I'll probably leave it.
Yeah, I'm not. We could talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, no worries, man.
We'll get back into it. I'll do a couple of shout outs though. So shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat for the super chat. Says it's flatter day. Let's teach kids how to test the globe. Shout out to Earth is Seriously Flat and also Chow Yun Cat who put a crucifix. But thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate your support.
All right, tell me when it's up. We ready to continue, or was there anyone that had any more questions or comments?
Any more for any more?
Nope.
I think I'm about done.
Cool. Right, you're up.
So we have the Bolivian salt flats, and like I said in previous presentations, if this isn't on your bucket list, it should be. This is absolutely breathtaking. I don't know if I'll get there, but if I ever get a chance, I'm going. So, according to the highly esteemed heliocentric sun-worshipping spinning ball space monkey religion, every point along a tangent in every direction from your feet drops. That is vertical drop away from you at 8 inches per mile squared. Here, let's do this. Maybe this will help with the last point too. You see this? You see this, guys? By either Pythagoras or trigonometric construction, this is a vertical drop, right? You don't start over right here, right? If you have a trip of 1,000 miles, you don't start over every mile you go and then calculate the drop. It's the drop from point A to point B. Everyone following this? So, the Salar in the Bolivian Andes is the largest salt flat on Earth, exhibiting less than 1 meter of vertical relief over an area of 9,000 square kilometers, right? This is from Borsa, Topography of the Salar del Uyuni, Bolivia, from Kinematic GPS Geophysical Journal and International Volume. I'm going to pull this up here in a couple minutes. What they're talking about, this isn't a sight gag. This is a geometrical flat plane. You can have a myriad of topographical features on a sphere: mountains, ridges, saddles, spurs, depressions, etc. You know what you can't have? You can't have a geometrical flat plane. And this one is over 9,000 square kilometers. Therefore, how can they stage 5 cling with a kung fu death grip to their fairy tale religion that has one of its foundational tenets, vertical drop, and yet at the same time have a flat plane with less than 1 meter vertical drop over 9,000 square kilometers, pray tell? This is a violation of the law of non-contradiction. For an encore, can they reconcile married bachelors for us also? This is real simple and easy to reconcile. So, the distinguished ball-tard position. According to the heliocentric sun-worshipping spinning ball space monkey religion, every point along a tangent, again, in every direction from your feet drops. That is, vertical drops away from you at 8 inches per mile square. So, vertical drop, the study. The Salar in the Bolivian Andes is the largest salt flat on Earth, like he said, exhibiting less than 1 meter of vertical relief over an area of 9,000 square kilometers. So no vertical drop. You see the problem here? Violation of the law of non-contradiction. Let's check this. This is the actual study. It shows 100 kilometer, 62-mile measure north to south of the Salar with less than 1 meter vertical drop. It's down here a ways. Bear with me. So you have a north to south measure. You have from alpha to alpha prime, 100 kilometers. So the spinning ball space monkey religion, 100 kilometers is 62 miles vertical drop. That equals 781 meters. The Bolivian salt flats, 100 kilometers, 62 miles vertical drop, less than 1 meter. Alice in Wonderland is more tenable than the venerated ball-tard spinning space monkey religion. The prosecution rests. Simple. You live in a fairy tale. The end. Questions, comments?
Yeah, fairy tale. No drop. Anybody on the panel?
No.
Feel free.
No.
These are pretty concise, so.
Yeah, nothing really to add. There's always the complaints in the chat about allegedly not understanding the difference between drop and elevation, but they have to remember it's their model, that says there's supposed to be a drop. And, they're trying to, again, presume, first of all, that we assume we're on a sphere. And that's where the problem is, because they want level to mean parallel to the surface of a sphere rather than a tangent to the sphere. If there was a sphere, it would be a tangent line. So I think that's where the confusion is, but they think we're confused. So, but what can you do?
We're confused. Okay, can somebody tell me, please? I need somebody to tell me the disconnect between elevation and vertical drop. Anybody, please.
Now, elevation is just the distance from the surface, whereas drop is the surface is going away from you in a vertical direction, down.
So you said down. So is that in elevation down? Do you horizontally drop?
No.
Is there another drop other than elevation drop? Give me something.
Right. I'm just saying what they say is we're presuming that elevation is only the distance from the surface, not even considering that the surface in their model is dropping away too. So the confusion is on their part, I think.
Well, they demand that you beg the question. They say it's relative to their model.
Well, let me go back again. Let me try to say this again. Please give me another drop other than a drop in elevation. That's so stupid, I can't even say it. It's not confusing. It's moronic. Give me something other than elevation drop, vertical drop. Okay. What does vertical mean?
Well, I'll put it out to the audience. So, I don't know, about halfway through, if you can give me the nod, QE, I'll stick out a link for Discord so members of the public can join. And if they can remember this question, other than... what other drop is there, I suppose, is the most concise way of putting it.
I'm at a loss. There must be 8 inches per mile square to drop on their ball. Where are they calculating this drop from? I want somebody to show me how they're calculating drop. Drop from what? What's the benchmark? We know elevation isn't made from the center of the earth. I already posted that citation about 500 times, along with their ellipsoid train wreck. So what's the benchmark?
Right. They can't do it without presuming. They can't do anything but affirm the consequent. It assumes there must be a sphere, but like I said, the curvature calculator is their calculator. They say there is drop 8 inches per mile squared. That's what they say. And then they want to say, that elevation is just a distance of an object above that curve, that surface. And then they tell us we don't understand. It's like, well, your calculator, you tell me.
Yeah, it's non sequitur. It doesn't make any sense. You got to give me some type of drop. Where's the drop? What, do your drawers drop? Where's the drop? To drop, it has to be vertical. That is elevation drop. You got to have a benchmark. What's the benchmark? Sea level? What does level mean? Level means flat. So this is just a circle jerk.
Adam, Betty, either of you got anything to add? Or move on if not?
Yeah, I see someone commenting in Discord, and I think that, John, you get these. You have a quote from the Solar that you use a quote from someone, or a citation. I mean, sorry. And I have a guy that says, well, the elevations are recorded relative to the WGS 84 model.
Yeah,
so
well,
they say something in that same document is referring that they account flat as in that model. So that refutes your former.
Oh God! Tell me when you're done.
That regards your former quote. That's what the guy says. I'm done.
First of all, they're not quotes, they're citations. Second of all, we don't measure a benchmark from a model, right? We don't. The benchmark measure on the elevation drop is not from a concept. I need some cowbell, some physicality, right? So that's non sequitur on its face. It's moronic.
Can you show that citation that you have and the reference again? Maybe
you still have me sharing.
I will be.
No, I see that awful bottle again, which we had decided that we wouldn't see, but I think Nathan likes it best.
Oh my! Don't just throw him under the bus.
Let me get you back. Look, fun though it is to poke fun out of the host, right? To get us back on track, I summarise this immediately. They must demand that you beg the question. It's in reference to our model. That's all they can do. Demand that you beg the question. Got you up,
yeah,
QE.
It's that academic. What is this? It is in blue. It's a little quite small for me to see.
Well, do you want me to pull the link up?
Yeah, if you can. I don't know. Because he says in that same document, there's another citation that he pulls out. That although he doesn't pull out the citation, he just says it. That they make it that their flat is according to that WGS 84.
And I say again, you can't measure flat from a concept, a model.
Okay, and that's that geoid thing, I think.
Right? Yeah, the geoid, the hypothetical imaginary model. Yes, they even got a red line under it. Windows 10 doesn't recognize it because it's moronic.
Sorry, Betty. Can you just repeat what he said again? Their flat is based on a model. Is that what you said?
Yeah, well, I saw the comment earlier in a different thread, and that it had flat had quotation marks on it, and that's how they see flat, right? They see flat on a flat sphere.
Yeah, they see flat in reference to their model. What's that you say? It's flat. Well, only in reference to our model is it flat. You say it's completely flat. Reference to our model, my friend. Flat means curved.
I want to see their model.
Yeah.
I want to see their model. Any globetard, please post your model somewhere. 3.5 years, I've never seen it. That is the globe Earth model. Has anyone on the panel seen it?
No.
Nope.
I've seen them decry Google Earth, and it later transpires that Google Earth backs no drop because there is no drop. So they definitely don't say Google Earth is their model. But no, I've never been presented with a model. Adam, have you ever been presented with any globe Earth models?
Not seen one yet. I used to think it was globe Earth, but they denounced that during the Isle of Man.
You mean Google Earth?
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, they
Earth
denounced
I always thought was the best model they had, but like I said, the ballers denounced that in favour of an ordnance survey map, as far as I'm aware.
That's correct. Yes. Paul, you got anything to add? Paula, you there?
I love what. Sorry.
No, nothing more really to add. They still keep going on and on in the chat about all these things that we've already gone over. So not much to add. It's their own model that is confusing them. I think they keep trying to make excuses for it, but they commit fallacies left and right in the process.
You move on?
I'd just say one thing, Nathan. I like the salt flats as a proof, because models accepted on a flat model. It's a very good example of a small portion of the flat plane with very little topography. But on the ball model, it's a great example of somebody who's had a file out and just took a little edge off, so it's perfectly flat. So I think in terms of if you were to be postulating plausibility in Occam's razor, it seems very odd that that kind of area, of such a vast area, would be created to be flat. And I say that because they do use the distance to the centre of the Earth as an excuse to bend it round a ball. But the reality is the visual observations don't demonstrate that. So it is flat by description. It isn't bending round a ball like their sea level. The salt flats are flat.
Okay. I mean, we've got a few people, as Paula points out in the chat, saying our model, our model, our model. But a few of them are saying Google is our model. So, as I say, when I get the nod, I'll stick out a link to Discord. And if you want to come in and show us where the drop is in your model, then you're welcome to do so. Should we move on?
Well, before you move on, this has more to do with Hanlon's razor than anything else with the salt flats. It's a direct contradiction. You know what Hanlon's razor is, right?
Nope. What's Hamlin's razor?
Hanlon's razor. Don't assign confusion with malice of forethought. Something to that effect.
Don't assign confusion with malice of forethought.
Yeah, don't. Yeah. Don't assign ignorance to malice of forethought. Something on that thing. I can't recall exactly what it is.
You want it? It's never attribute malice that which is adequately explained by stupidity.
Oh, that's right. That's it. Say it again.
And basically, just to make it a little less wordy than they have it there, is don't attribute something to malice when it's really just stupidity.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think he's mean. Just realise he's dumb.
Yeah.
Flat means curved. Flat means curved.
Yeah, we're ready to move if you like.
Yeah, I've got you up.
So I would say every one of these are my favorite, so I stopped doing that. But this is definitely one. The Evolved Sea Sparrow missile, the ESSM Block 1. And let me get your attention down to this little contraption down here, right here on the bottom. You guys see this? This is pivotal in this argument. These are the target illuminators. They're the target illuminators. They're going to become very important here in a few minutes. So the general characteristics of the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1. Primary function, surface to air and surface to surface radar guided missile. This is very important right here. This isn't air to air or anything else. All of it, both functions, surface to air, surface to surface. This is directly from the Navy.mil. Okay? Bistatic semi-active seekers in the nose of a missile receive a reflected signal from a target that is being illuminated with an RF signal transmitted from a fire control radar. This guy on a standoff platform, for example, aircraft or ship. In our example, it's a ship. These are surface-fired missiles. Such systems require that the platform maintain what? Line of sight to the target until it is engaged by the missile. Ship-based standard missile and the NATO Sea Sparrow anti-air missiles are examples of such a semi-active mode. The NATO Sea Sparrow requires a constant signal for homing. From naval technology, ranges more than 35 miles. The target is illuminated with a 2-degree RF pencil beam, which has to be maintained, that is painted on the target until detonation. At a more than generous 50 feet elevation above sea level, that's the target illumination radar height, the target should be hidden behind 463 feet of curvature. So, please explain how you can have line of sight 35 miles away on a spinning ball by showing how a 2-degree RF pencil beam can penetrate 463 feet, that's 141 meters of target hidden height, through a wall of water 24 miles in length. PS 35 miles is lowballing. The official max effective range is classified, i.e. it's much, much greater than 35 miles. So, either A, the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile, that's the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 exists, or the spinning ball religion exists. Both can't be true. The end. The knighted spinning space monkeys live in a fairy tale. See if you can follow this. Range of the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 is 50 kilometers. Actually, it's much farther. Like I just said, it's classified. Number 2, the target must be illuminated by an RF pencil beam via target illumination radar on the launch ship for the weapon system to engage. Ergo, it must have line of sight. Number 3, the target illumination radar and the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 must be on the same launch ship. Number 4, surface targets, ships, and sea skimmers are engaged by the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 from the launch ships. Number 5, the horizon at 50 feet elevation, according to the begging the question curve calculators, is 8.65 miles. Ergo, the limit of line of sight on a sphere is 8.65 miles at that elevation. Number 6, if the ESSM Block 1 can engage surface targets from ships at anything greater than 8.65 miles, that's 13.9 kilometers, and it most assuredly can, then the Earth must be flat. The prosecution rests simple. They live in a fairy tale, the end. A typical comeback to this. And I've touched on it up above. But the missile and the target illumination radar don't have to be on the same ship, Quantum Racer. Factually incorrect by Raytheon. Unlike the RIM C7 Sea Sparrow missile and the ESSM Block 1, Block 2's active seeker will support terminal engagement without the launch ship's target illumination radars. This means the RIM 7 Sea Sparrow and the ESSM Block 1 must have the target illumination radar and the missile on the same ship. The ESSM Block 2 doesn't need the launch ship's target illumination radar on the ship, but the Block 2 Evolved Sea Sparrow missile isn't going to be ready until 2020. From docs.house.gov, the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 2, an improved short-range ship-based missile that counters attacks by multiple cruise missiles at low altitude, as well as adversary jamming and radar deception. It will be fielded in 2020 with 80 missiles going to the fleet. By my clock right here, that's a year away. Ergo, please tell me how the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile Block 1 has been engaging surface-based targets at more than 50 kilometers with the target illumination radars on launch ships for the past 15 years. 15 years right here. They were full operational use since 2004, directly from the Navy. You ready? Kaboom! The highly venerated fairy tale spinning ball space monkey religion just crashed and burned with such ferocity it would make Steve Austin's $6 Million Man crash and burn look like a fender bender. Questions, comments?
I posted the link to Strange World 21, Mark Sargent's interview with the missile instructor while you were talking, so check that out.
Thank you.
Anybody on the panel got any comments? I like that proof.
Yeah, I don't see a way around it. I mean, if they tell us boats disappear on the horizon in only, 3 to 5 miles or even 12 miles, 50 miles is out of the question, no matter how big something is. And you just cannot do that. And all they can say in the chat that I've seen is, hey, there's one instance in that whole thing you presented where site was spelled wrong. S-I-T-E instead of S-I-G-H-T. And they keep going, hey, he can't even spell site. One time you had a typo, and that's all they can think about, not, wow, we can't, how can we have these devices that target line of sight for 50 miles and still also say at the same time that boats go over the horizon in way less than that? That's their problem to solve.
Called an appeal to format fallacy. Rather than addressing the actual argument, they attack the formatting.
Right.
It's just
The
sad.
same in Discord, by the way.
They
do the same in Discord. They also go about...
No. Oh, okay, sorry.
Did I miss any comma splices?
Just fallacious. No rebuttals whatsoever in this instance. Not even appeal to their model. But you're absolutely right. There's a great video by Taboo Conspiracy where he's got a guy on a periscope and he's pretending to talk to his guy on the button, presumably ready to fire. And he's going, oh, according to the curve maths, that one's 50% behind the curve, so obviously at least half the boat's looming. Oh, that one's way too far. That's definitely all looming. That's a complete mirage of a boat. That one in the distance couldn't possibly fire at that one. Oh, that one's close enough. That one's definitely not affected by Earth curve. We can shoot at that one.
Yeah, I've seen that. It was excellent.
Betty, Adam?
I've just got John. Could you just put the picture back up of the gun and the sight mechanism? Just one. I was just
the
doing
missile.
a little...
Yeah, the missile. It's not a gun. It's a missile. Yeah, the target illumination radars are right here. See them?
Okay. Yeah. So so I was just looking at that, and I was just kind of pondering, and if you were setting your equipment up, the thing that's aiming it is the bits at the bottom, isn't it? Now, if you were dealing with line of sight and curvature, let's just say they're 30 foot above sea level and the gun's 50 foot above. Well, if you were positioning your targeting system and height mattered because you were dealing with a curved surface, it would seem eminently sensible to have them positioned at least level or above. Because if where they are, say 30 foot at 35 miles, then the amount of drop is 440, 375 at 50 foot, and if you say Adam, same height above, 327, so more than 100 foot more visibility. Now, I'm assuming the military are pretty smart, so if that was relevant in any way, then I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have the sighting mechanism underneath the guns. They'd have it above it to ensure maximum range.
Yeah, the rate limiting step, they can have the missile anywhere on here. The rate limiting step that's why I focused on the target illumination radar. Because that is what's sighting the target. That's what's painting the target.
Exactly. So if it was painting the target on a ball, its ability to paint the target in the distance would be reduced by sighting it lower down on the ship and not higher up on the ship.
Exactly, yes.
I actually saw a comment in the chat that, how do you know the target's above water? Maybe they're shooting something under the water. I don't know what part of line of sight is unclear.
No, it's surface to surface and surface to air missile.
Right. He said it right at the beginning. Surface to surface, highlighted, bolded, made big.
Right here. It's not underwater.
Right. It's not a torpedo.
They're not firing. This isn't a torpedo.
Right.
Ball target.
Right.
I love it. That was the poorest section of rebuttals from the chat so far.
Somebody hold their beer because they're going to have some more coming up. I guarantee it.
Okay, ready when you are.
So, this was the cornerstone, right? This will be a quick one. No vacuum of space. I don't know how well you can see this picture, but there's a couple dots in here. We'll just take the center dot. What they're saying here is that there is 760 torr of pressure on this little dot right here, encompassing this little dot right here in the middle. No barrier. And all around here is 10 to the negative 17 torr vacuum. Do I need to say anything else? I don't think so. What a joke. Number one, how do you have gas pressure, atmospheric pressure, without a container to begin with, when from Elmhurst University, the pressure of a gas is the force that the gas exerts on the walls of its container? I can't wait to hear this yarn, and we've heard many yarns so far, and there's going to be more. You can't have gas pressure in an open system. Your fairy tale narrative, your Earth, is an open system. Married, bachelors, or more tenable. So basically, please explain how you can have tire pressure without the frigging tire. That's it. You got to explain it. Number two, how can you have a vacuum outer space attached to a non-vacuum Earth without a physical barrier in the same system simultaneously, without bludgeoning to a bloody pulp the laws of entropy? That's the second law of thermodynamics. In other words, how are you still breathing and adhering to your fairy tale religion both at the same time? B, then define the law of non-contradiction. Why? Because it's a violation of the law of non-contradiction. C, please list each fairy tale associated with outer space that gets taken out back to the woodshed and bludgeoned senseless as a result of the fairy tale vacuum of space vaporizing. And three, and this is kind of fun, how in the world did the Earth form an atmosphere at all in a vacuum? From a big bang? Have you ever heard the phrase, nature abhors a vacuum, by chance? Wonder why that is. From Arthur Eddington, The Nature of the Physical World, 1930, page 74. If your theory is found to be against the second law of thermodynamics, I can give you no hope. There is nothing for your theory but to collapse in the deepest humiliation. I don't think he's mincing any words here. But what do we get? But we have gas pressure gradients. Why do in the integrity beyond reproach spinning space monkeys trademark continue to wholesale dodge the very simple question to support their fairy tale religion? Why? This is the question. How do you have gas pressure without a container? The Bagat response, how do we have gas pressure gradients, QE? See, the brain surgeons actually think this double your pleasure fallacy is a reason response to the question. So I'll break out the crayons. Now, with a caveat, you know the problem here, right? Don't munch them. Which comes first? Number one, gas pressure, X, or gas pressure gradients, delta X. There can't be a delta X before there's an X. Okay? In other words, honorable crisis, before number two, you see this? Before delta X, one must friggin' exist. That is X. Must friggin' exist. Can't get around it. So again, back to where we started. How do you have gas pressure without a container? Alice in Wonderland is more tenable than the exalted ball-tard spinning space monkey religion. The prosecution rests. Simple. You live in a fairy tale. The end. Questions, comments?
Well, according to the chat, volume doesn't imply a container.
Is that so?
Yeah. So I've said volume of what?
Tell them to bring it up in the after show. I don't want to get off the presentation. Can somebody mark that? Here, I'll mark it down. So
No
say that
worries.
one more time.
Sure, I'll read it verbatim from a chap named or a lady named Supercurve. Volume of gas. You can have a volume of gas without a container. There's a link below, Supercurve. Please join the Discord server. Give us your demonstration of gas pressure without a container.
So essentially, she's saying you can have volume without a container.
Seems to be the case.
Thanks, I got it down.
No worries. Anyone on the panel?
No.
No, I think that everything has been said about this subject. So
Okay.
Adam?
move on.
No, I was just going to say that sounds like more semantic or double speak, heading into Rumpus's air and atmosphere kind of realms in terms of. Do you know what I mean?
No,
Best
get
you
it
can
right,
see, you
Adam.
can define a
Air
volume
is
in
not
a
the
larger
atmosphere.
volume.
We can't misquote this bit, Adam. I'll take it from here. Quote, The Rumpus, 2016. Air is not the atmosphere. End quote.
Yeah, and there is no semantics regarding the meaning of volume.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah,
Volume.
Semantics is the definition of words. Yes, every single argument, every single proof is semantics. Duh. Well, it's like charging the Keller yellow with being yellow. For goodness sakes, man.
No, they're saying it's a dimension. Yeah, a dimension of what? Save it for the after show. Click the link. Tell us afterwards. Right, let's move on.
We're rolling now, man. All right. One of our favorites. Like I said, everyone's a favorite. Not spinning. The Earth's not spinning, space monkeys. We're going to show you again. For the Coriolis effect to exist, you must have, i.e., the necessary conditions, two differing frames of reference. One rotating coordinate system, non-inertial, the Earth, and one non-rotating coordinate system, inertial, the atmosphere, and everything in it. From Seagard, Douglas, Introduction to Ocean Sciences, Critical Concept Reminders. When set in motion, freely moving objects, including air, that's atmosphere. Psst, rumpus, atmosphere. And water masses, clouds, water vapor, move in straight paths while the Earth continues to what? Rotate independently. Because freely moving objects are not carried with the Earth as it rotates, they are subject to an apparent deflection called the Coriolis effect. To an observer rotating with the Earth, freely moving objects that travel in a straight line appear to travel in a curved path on the Earth. In other words, anything not tethered to the Earth is freely moving. Number 2, the object in question, not physically attached to the rotating coordinate system, Earth, appears to deflect, i.e., moves independently of the rotating coordinate system from the vantage point anywhere on the rotating coordinate system, the Earth. So, if the Coriolis effect exists, and this is very important, if the Coriolis effect exists with respect to the Earth, then a flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to LA, nonstop, traveling at 500 miles per hour airspeed, with both locations roughly the 35th degree north latitude, that is, both allegedly spinning at 860 miles an hour, should be approximately 1.5 hours. But it's approximately 4.5 hours. Charlotte to Los Angeles flight, airspeeds 500 miles an hour. The ground speed, you have to take the airspeed plus the 860 miles per hour alleged rotation speed that's coming in your face. You're traveling from east to west is 1,360 miles an hour. So, in my example, number 1, 2 differing frames of reference, the Earth and the atmosphere and everything in it. Number 2, the plane in the atmosphere is freely moving, not attached to the rotating coordinate system, and is flying in a straight path. In other words, based on the law of non-contradiction, each, the Coriolis effect with respect to the Earth and the Charlotte flight at 1.5 hours are either both true or both false. The flight is most assuredly false. Therefore, the Earth is not spinning. Ergo, the ball goes by way of the dodo bird, or you're a stationary ball geocentrist. Voila. The only way the above can be refuted is if you're of the position that the atmosphere spins with the Earth. So then, if you're of that position, number 1, please explain how the Coriolis effect can exist when the necessary conditions for it to exist are 2 different coordinate systems, reference frames. You have one rotating non-inertial, the Earth, and one rotating inertial, the atmosphere, and everything in it. Let's take a look here. I pulled this up before on many of occasions. Let's just read it. In the inertial frame of reference, ding, 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 upper part of the picture, the black ball moves in a straight line. However, the observer red dot, who is standing in the ding, 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 rotating non-inertial frame of reference, lower part of the picture, sees the object as following a curved path due to Coriolis, right? So the reason why this is curving, the ball's not curving. The reason is because you are curving, you are rotating on the rotating reference frame. So a couple questions here. Do you see any latitude or longitude lines on here? Do you see an equator or any directions north or south on here? No. These are absolutely essential and the only causes that afford the Coriolis effect. The reference frames, there's 2. Initial frame of or the inertial frame of reference, the upper part, that's the atmosphere, the ball's traveling through, and the rotating non-inertial frame of reference. It's just that simple. So we'll get 40 or 50 questions. I don't know. A incoherent second grader can reconcile this in less than, 5 seconds. So if you're of this position right now, the atmosphere spins with the Earth, and I just went through that block of instruction, and you still hold this position, then you're in violation of the law of non-contradiction. That's number 1. Number 2, show the experiment where gases or a gas rotate in lockstep with a rotating solid body just 5 centimeters above the surface, then provide the mechanism. You do understand that gases have no intermolecular bonds, right? That's what kind of makes them gases? Obviously rhetorical. So do gas molecules attach to the Earth and each other by Velcro, superglue, molasses, pixie dust, other? And gas molecules, air, vibrate and move freely and randomly at high speeds. That's what makes them gases. It's a good visual here for the renowned spinning space monkeys from Purdue University. You see this over here? This is a microscopic view of gases. Anything stand out here? Like them not being attached and moving freely and randomly at high speeds? Do you get this? My word. Question: how can gas molecules that make up the atmosphere that move freely and randomly at high speeds, yet, according to the intellectual elite Baltards, rotate in unison, i.e. not moving freely and randomly at high speeds, with the Earth from west to east? This is a violation of the law of non-contradiction, number 2. Number 3, please explain east, north, and south surface winds on a spinning ball that has the atmosphere, air, wind, and gas rotating with it from west to east. Violation of the law of non-contradiction, number 3. We're going for a record here. Bonus question: how can you have different wind speeds moving in different directions simultaneously at differing elevations of the atmosphere, all the while the atmosphere is collectively spinning east in unison, the same? P.S. It'd be easier reconciling married bachelors. And by the way, we're in another violation of the law of non-contradiction, number 4. These are contradictory statements, these two right here. Number 1 and number 2. The atmosphere spins with the Earth. And number 2, the existence of east, north, and south surface winds. Which do you think? Which one of these are false? What do you say? Moreover, from the Mensa Baller's yarn, every cubic nanometer of atmosphere traveling horizontally from the equator to the center of rotation must have differing tangential speeds, and every cubic nanometer of atmosphere rising in elevation from each respective horizontal cubic nanometer of atmosphere must have differing tangential speeds. In fact, the higher the elevation, the faster they'll need to travel to keep up. And all of this rolling along at different speeds in unison east. Violation of the law of non-contradiction, number 5. This is so far beyond preposterous, ludicrous absurdity, evolution, whatever that is. Multiverses and married bachelors are blushing. And does anyone know how far this increasing speed, rope-a-dope, fairy tale spinning atmosphere ends? I'd like to see that. It'll give a whole new meaning to guillotine wind shear. Goodness gracious, people. P.S. Are the gas molecules, like I said above, attached to each other by Velcro, glue, pixie dust, other? And where is the energy coming from the continuous shot and arm injections needed to keep each successive cubic nanometer of atmosphere higher elevation brethren in tow? Alice in Wonderland is more tenable than the prestigious Baltard spinning space monkey religion. The prosecution rests. Simple. You live in a fairy tale. The end. Psst. The noble spinning space monkeys are so confused, aka ICD-10 F72 codes. The actual argument isn't that the Coriolis effect doesn't exist, or that planes are apparently deflecting. I'm going to give you the actual argument. I've done it about 2 times in 3.5 years. So you can get off your planes deflecting. Okay? Here's the actual argument. You ready? I'm using the Coriolis causes. Conditions that afford the existence of the Coriolis effect. Like I demonstrated above, the causes of the 2 differing frames of reference. To pummel the spinning part of the exalted fairy tale spinning Baltard space monkey religion. That's what I'm doing. If the Coriolis effect is true, and we know it is, you could do it on a merry-go-round. And I just had a visual demonstration above from your alma mater wiki. And if the Earth is rotating, then the Charlotte to Los Angeles flight at an airspeed of 500 miles an hour must be 1.5 hours. Must be. It's not. And never will be. Ergo, the Earth is not spinning. Done. Zero. Nada. And hurricanes. I love this one. So you're saying that hurricanes spin in opposing directions in the northern versus southern hemispheres, respectively, due to the Coriolis effect? Oh, really? I'd sure like some of the angel dust lace shrooms the distinguished space monkeys are snorting here. I mean, this is gonna you might want to turn away, Baltards. It's gonna get medieval here in a minute. So please focus on the apparent deflection, not real, appears, does not actually in the following citations. Again, from Seagar Douglas. Because freely moving objects are not carried with the Earth as it rotates, they are subject to an apparent deflection called the Coriolis effect. To an observer rotating with the Earth, freely moving objects that travel in a straight line appear to travel in a curved path on the Earth. From the University of Oregon, the effect of the Coriolis force is an apparent deflection, again, hear the echo, of the path of an object that moves within a rotating coordinate system. The object does not actually deviate from its path. It appears to do so because the motion of the coordinate system. Now, the University of Florida has adopted the same definition as the University of Oregon. So, apparent deflection, right? Does not actually. It appears. Are you getting it? From Utah State University. The Coriolis force is an imaginary force because objects affected by it are really following a straight path. It is an apparent deflection we see from the vantage point, frame of reference, of the rotating Earth. From California State, the Coriolis effect describes the, surprise, apparent deflection, curving of an object traveling in a straight line. Let's round it out from encyclopedia.com. Within its rotating coordinate system, the object acted on by the Coriolis effect appears to deflect off its path of motion. This deflection is not real. It only appears to happen because the coordinate system that establishes a frame of reference for the observer is also rotating, right? So I think I put enough in here so we can get sort of the flavor of it. So here comes the punchline. As we've seen on the nightly news, images, Weather Channel, we've all seen these. What are we looking at here? Right? We have actual spin directions. Let me rephrase that. We have actual spin directions. This is counterclockwise. This is clockwise. We see these. These are actual. Does anyone see the problem here? What does an actual spin direction, clockwise and counterclockwise, have to do with the Coriolis effect, which is an apparent deflection? Not real, appears, does not actually, por favor. Answer key, absolutely nothing. Violation of the law of non-contradiction again. This is tantamount to giving a presentation on quantum numbers with excruciating details on s, p, d, and f orbitals. They're not orbitals, by the way. Then concluding that they are responsible for the creation of facultative anaerobe woodpeckers. People, wake up. Alice in Wonderland is more tenable than the highly decorated, ball-tard spinning space monkey religion. The prosecution rests simple. You live in a fairy tale, the end. But wait 1 second. P.S. We're going to finish up with something here. Let's go to the Foucault pendulum from plusmass.org. Once you set one in motion, its direction of swing will rotate at a rate of about 0.2 degrees every minute. But in fact, it isn't really the pendulum that's rotating. The pendulum is swinging back and forth in exactly the same direction. It's the Earth which is rotating underneath the pendulum, which makes it appear that the pendulum is in fact changing directions. What does this sound like? Huh? maybe what we've been talking about for the past 10 minutes. Now, if you haven't caught it, it's the Coriolis effect. That's what we're talking about. If you didn't catch it then just ring your call button and I'll have Tommy come back and hit you in the head with a tack hammer. So, number one, if that's true, then why couldn't we just hover in a helicopter in North Carolina for 3 hours and catch a Dodger game? Right? Number two, if the Foucault pendulum is legit, which denotes two separate reference frames, right? What do we got? We got the pendulum swinging back and forth, and we have the Earth rotating underneath the pendulum. That, by my count, is two, right? Then, get ready. This is going to be a shocker. A flight from Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles nonstop, traveling at 500 miles per hour airspeed with both locations roughly at the 35th degree north latitude, i.e. both allegedly spinning at 860 miles per hour, should be 1.5 hours, but it's 4.5 hours. The Charlotte to Los Angeles flight, airspeed 500 miles an hour, ground speed 500 miles an hour, plus the 860 miles an hour alleged rotation speed that's coming into your face. That equals 1,360 miles an hour. Distance between Charlotte, North Carolina and Los Angeles is 2,115 miles. Simple math, flight time must be 1.5 hours. Actual flight time, 4.5 hours. Does this 1.hour flight time ever happen? No. Then say bye-bye now to the illustriously dignified and knighted ball-tard spinning space monkey religion. Thanks for your ear. Have a nice day.
It's a long presentation when it comes to Coriolis because it's got layer upon layer upon layer of doublespeak piled on top of what is actually quite a simple concept. A roundabout spins and you hold a ball. You're spinning round and round in a circle. You throw the ball, it goes in a straight line. But from your position on the spinning roundabout, it seems like it's curving. It's an apparent deflection. Apparent because it looks like it's curving, it's not. Now that's Coriolis effect. It's real. It exists. It happens. You can observe it yourself on a roundabout with a ball. However, it's asserted that the Earth spins underneath the atmosphere, the frame of reference that the ball, bullet, aeroplane, helicopter, or anything else they allege is being deflected or experiencing apparent deflection on account of the fact that the Earth is alleged to rotate underneath. The problem being that it doesn't. No drone, plane, helicopter, or anything else for that matter ever experiences these ludicrous speeds that they would if the Earth rotated underneath. It simply does not. So we'll start with Adam this time. There.
Yeah. Oh, Coriolis. It's one of those ones you could go on for hours trying to prove your point, isn't it? But all I'll tell you what it is for me, Nathan, is listening to the FE debates, and there's probably a number of toe tags on this. George the scumbag, hatting you up, probably primarily. But with a lot of the debates, you can often at least comprehend in their imaginary world their argument. But this is one that is their imaginary world, and I like often I'm sat there and I'm trying to listen to, for example, George, and you can't even comprehend the point he's trying to get over to validate his position as to, particularly with aeroplanes, why that phenomena doesn't occur if said Coriolis was occurring. And yeah, it's a frustrating one that debating with ballers when you listen to it, because he just gets into the complete obfuscation straight away, because their own argument is done out by their own science, and yet they still feel the need to try to explain that it is a secondary reference frame, yet not a secondary reference frame.
Indeed. I'll just do a quick shout out to Leonardo Gonzalez, who says, "Congratulations, Nathan. Every new show has been better and better than the one before." Well, thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Leonardo Gonzalez. Really appreciate your support. So, Betty, do you want to go next?
Well, yeah, my head is spinning, but that's about it, I think, because we have been with this argument, I think, since the beginning. I think that John brought it up in earlier hangouts, and really no one had a rebuttal to this. It's all doublespeak, and nothing's ever changed. So yeah, it must be something psychological with people not seeing this. So I don't understand. It's for me. I found this difficult in beginning to explain this. And you can do this very well, Nathan, to explain the whole Coriolis and stuff to people, and still most of them don't get it. So it amazes me that people don't get this argument. They don't want to. That's how I feel about it.
Paula, have you got anything to add?
Not really to add, maybe to just emphasize the contradictions. They can't decide whether they want the Earth to turn under an object or not, because sometimes they want it, sometimes they don't. It's like, for example, the merry-go-round, and if they say, I saw one comment, if you jump up, your momentum will be conserved and you'll land where you jumped off from. But the problem is, yeah, you have some momentum, but once you leave the spinning thing, you're going in a tangent, a straight line, and that's how they get their apparent Coriolis effect. So they're saying if you jump up and you land back where you were, there's just basically saying there is no Coriolis effect. Your conservation of motion will put you back where you were, but yet they say that Coriolis is exactly the opposite. The Earth turns under. They can't make up their minds. And of course, with the Foucault pendulum, the pendulum is attached to the Earth. So how is the Earth turning under it? It's just, I don't know, it's just begging the question most of the time, and special pleading and all sorts of other fallacies, and contradiction is at the heart of all of it, I think.
Well, the pendulum's your friend, Paula, and I'll tell you why. John laid this out for me maybe several months ago, I forget how long ago. But basically, because it's tied up in doublespeak, and as you rightly point out, they can't decide if they want one reference frame or two reference frames. And for the layman out there, when Neil deGrasse Tyson says, this guy's thrown a football and it's gone into the goal because the Earth rotated underneath, that is an example of the Coriolis effect. The ball travels in a straight line, but effectively the goalposts move because the Earth rotates underneath. That's two reference frame, an example of an actual Coriolis effect, claimed Coriolis effect being observed, according to Neil deGrasse Tyson. However, when you get to the tricky detail of a plane travelling in the same reference frame as the ball, and not experiencing the Earth turning underneath with continents coming towards you at an exponential rate, or you fighting Earth turn, that simply doesn't happen, or you taking off with a drone and it not having the Earth rotate underneath it, that doesn't happen either. There is no Coriolis effect. So then they have to explain that away by saying, well, no, the Earth and atmosphere travel as one reference frame, no Coriolis effect. In other words, they're arguing against their own claim, but they'll switch between the two to confuse the person who's either debating with them or listening to the conversation. So the way around this is to utilize the pendulum. So you say, okay, what's the pendulum doing? Well, the pendulum swings back and forth in the reference frame that it's in, and the Earth rotates underneath. That's why you see the pendulum deviate. An apparent deviation, because the Earth rotates underneath, according to the pendulum. And you go, okay, Mr. Globehead, so the Earth rotates underneath the pendulum. Why doesn't it rotate underneath the plane? So then you've got them, because they've had to concede one of the two circumstances. According to the pendulum, the Earth rotates underneath. Now, your attack was to say, well, it's attached. It's ludicrous. Absolutely correct. It's not a demonstration of the Earth rotating underneath. That's preposterous. However, in their rhetoric, that's what it's claimed to be demonstrating. And once you can get Johnny Globehead to actually concede that that is what it's demonstrating, the Earth rotating underneath, you say, well, why doesn't it? Why doesn't it rotate underneath a plane or a helicopter or a drone or anything else for that matter, even if they claim it, like a bullet or a football? Anyway. Should we move on? Any more for any more? Or is that it? long, awkward pause.
Yeah, it got to that point as to whether I should say, no, I'm good, Nathan, thank you, or just remain silent. But no, I think kill Coriolis.
Yeah, that's the end of the presentation. So we're going to move to Discord.
Yeah, we can do. We've got about half an hour left on the live show, so I'll open up all the mics on Discord. There has been a link out for quite some time, so we'll introduce them one at a time and see what they've got to say from top down in no particular order. So let's bring them up on screen so people can see who's in there. And we've got Babs in there. Let's see if we can get a hello out of you first and foremost. Hello, Babs. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just listening right now.
Oh, okay. Well, for now, until the after show, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick you in another room if the room fills up. So if you aren't intending to ask questions, and this will be the case going forward, we're just going to kick you to another room. So the only purpose for Discord live stream room is to talk to the panel or express your views, opinions, disagree, whatever the case may be. So at the moment, fine, we've got a few other people, so I'm not going to do anything, but that will be the case going forward. So next we've got Brenda. How you doing, Brenda? Can you hear us?
Occasionally. It still gets that period where the beginnings and parts of sentences are clipped. That's your setup?
It's your setup. Everyone else can hear clearly. But did you have any opinion on anything besides the production of the show, i.e. on topic?
Oh, it's entirely full of lies and deceptions. Yes, all of it.
Behind a generalized baseless assertion.
Yeah, well, there's too many lies to address in just one statement. They're all lies.
Okay, do you want to take one at a time? Start with the first, maybe.
Sure. Airplanes undergo powered flight. They are not projectiles, so they're not subjected to Coriolis effects. You can't fly, you can't lift up in a helicopter and expect the globe to rotate underneath you, because a helicopter is undergoing powered flight and it experiences a conservation of momentum.
Brenda,
you don't understand. You don't understand.
Okay, Brenda,
first grade.
Brenda, we heard your claim. Is it okay if we now address it?
Brenda, how would you distinguish against gliders, which are the shape of a projectile? There's no continued power, and they just are powered from the point of ejection like a projectile, and then have free reign there, but there's no continued projection based upon, like a jet engine, based upon the atmospherics. Is that the same or different?
Yeah, I couldn't even hear that because it's so broken up.
That's
your connection. It's not mine.
That's a shame. I'll repeat it. Maybe slower. Turn your speakers up, maybe. So, is a glider different to a plane?
What about it?
It's not being powered. Does a glider suffer this alleged effect of Coriolis?
No, gliders are not projectiles.
She's missing the argument. This is another idiot red herring fallacy. That's not the argument. The argument is, and I say again, the Coriolis causes. We're not concerned with planes or gliders apparently deflecting. All we're concerned with are the Coriolis causes. The inertial frame and the non-inertial frame. Hello?
Coriolis is not a cause. It's an effect of the conservation of momentum.
And conservation of momentum has nothing to do with this argument. I said we are concerned with the Coriolis causes. I know
Coriolis is not a cause.
I just gave a presentation on it.
You're wrong. That's why you're wrong.
What conditions do you need to have the Coriolis effect? What are the conditions?
Conservation of momentum and inertia. That's what it is. It's caused by the inertia of the projectile.
It's an inertial and a non-inertial reference frame would give rise to an apparent deflection, i.e. the Coriolis effect. So an inertial and a non-inertial reference frame.
Yes.
That's not what you said. So try again.
I'm agreeing. That's what it is. It's
Okay.
an inertial
Agreeing
reference
that you were
frame. That's
wrong.
what a projectile is.
You were agreeing that you were wrong. Thank
So-
you. We
No.
already knew that.
Yeah.
I
Next
wasn't
subject.
wrong.
So in the claim of
Airplanes-
Earth-based, in the claim of
Airplanes are
Earth-based,
powered.
yes, this is a red herring. The conditions that need to give rise to an apparent deflection are an inertial and non-inertial reference frame. So the atmosphere is the non-inertial reference frame, and the ground is the inertial reference frame. Simple.
The projectile is the inertial reference frame, right? And then the rotating disc on your
The projectile
little
is
GIF
not a
GIF
reference
there.
frame.
Hold on, let us say it. Say again, Brenda.
Okay.
So the projectile is the inertial reference frame.
Sorry, the projectile is the thing that will experience the apparent deflection when traveling into the non-inertial, the inertial reference frame, the atmosphere, if it's claimed to be an inertial reference frame, with the ground being a non-inertial reference frame, to give rise to Coriolis effect. So the projectile itself is the thing that will experience the apparent deflection, not a reference frame in and of itself, but it travels through a reference frame experiencing an apparent deflection.
You're wrong.
It seems that before I get to the conclusion of my statement, the global mute button is being used by Brenda. So I was being quite slow and concise to summarise the situation, but Brenda saw fit to make sure that the globe Earth rhetoric was rumpused over the top of a rebuttal that was clear and concise. So Brenda, please do not utilise the global mute button while I concisely summarise that you would require an inertial and a non-inertial reference frame. When travelling into the non-inertial reference frame, the inertial reference frame would see an apparent deflection in the projectile when travelling through the non-inertial reference frame. That is what the Coriolis effect is if it was earthbound. So the projectile is not a frame of reference, it is travelling through the non-inertial reference frame if Earth is claimed to have that second reference frame. Your declaration that it experiences no Coriolis effect is akin to our argument, because there is no Coriolis effect, there is no non-inertial reference frame, i.e. spinning globe Earth.
Can I speak now? Are you
Well,
done?
I've finished now, yes. So once I finish a statement, yes, you may finish. Once I've finished, yes, that would be the appropriate time to talk, as opposed to in the concise summary at the end of my statement. Yes, now you can talk, Brenda. Go ahead.
Yes. The projectile is its own reference frame. It has its own reference frame. And from the reference frame of the projectile, it never experiences any deflection. That's why it's called an apparent or pseudo force. That's why Coriolis is a pseudo force, because the projectile itself never experiences any deflection, because it has its own reference frame. It's not traveling through a reference frame. It has an reference frame centered on the projectile itself. You don't understand elementary school.
Okay, we can do with the ad homs. Hold on, John. Thank you, Brenda. Yes, the end came before the ad hominem started. So do you have a citation? Because before we do get into the citation, though, I'd like to clarify. You said the projectile is a reference frame, and then you immediately afterwards said it has a reference frame. So
precisely.
So which one is it?
Those are synonyms.
Is and has. No.
Yes.
I am not a coat, but I have a coat. Is and has are different.
No, not in this context.
Okay, if we're going to get hand-wave dismissals to definitions of is and has, then this is probably the end of our conversation, Brenda. So unless you can provide a citation that backs your double-speak that you won't clarify, I think this is possibly the end of the conversation.
The projectile has or can be considered
She's going
as
to
having
repeat the same thing.
its own reference frame.
Sorry, Brenda.
It has
Brenda,
and can be
Brenda,
considered
Brenda,
as
Brenda,
having
Brenda,
its own
Brenda,
reference
Brenda. We heard the first time. So now you're being challenged to provide a citation, not a repetition of your claim.
Elementary school physics.
Okay, that's the end of Brenda. Let's shut her up. Sorry, Brenda, but ad hominems, I'm just not interested. We asked you for a citation, not to tell us what elementary school we could... whatever. Not interested. Okay, next up we've got D. Dave. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I hear you.
Excellent. A bit quiet.
Oh,
hopefully I can
quite a
sort that.
show.
Yeah, you're on the show. Go ahead. What's your question or rebuttal or claim? Whatever.
Well, it's just an observation that I thought that people were ignorant really when they were uneducated, but I'm beginning to understand that it's probably the other way around. And I think of things like, a man in a white coat comes on television and says cottage cheese will cure cancer. And of course, the next week, all these shelves in the supermarkets are empty of cottage cheese. So I guess this is a way that you test for the mind control. And I can't imagine that whether the Earth is flat or spinning could be such a contentious issue. It's amazing.
Okay. Did you have any sort of comments or remarks in regards to the flat Earth proofs that have been raised today?
Well, I don't know what the shape of the Earth is, but it's clear that there doesn't appear to be any way we can determine whether it's flat or round, but we don't have any evidence. I mean, you have these mysteries of nature, the sun, the moon, the earth. It's.
Did you just watch the I'm sorry for interrupting. Did you just watch the presentation?
Yeah, I started a little late. I'm here in Sydney, Australia, and.
Oh, okay. I did provide evidences. This is what it's about. Flat Earth evidences. So when you get a chance, can you go ahead and check it out? And you can always come back to the Discord server. And if you have any comments, you could put them in there. We'll definitely find them.
So we're moving on to, is it Gamer Marcy 1986? Can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can. Very good to have you.
Yes, comments? I can hear you. Can you hear me?
We can, yes. Good to have you.
Just a quick question. John.
He's here, he can hear you.
Go ahead.
What is the sun, in your opinion?
But go ahead, say that one more time. I didn't catch
what the sun is. What's the sun?
Didn't somebody ask me that yesterday?
Sure, but that's his question. What's the sun, in your opinion?
I have no idea.
Anything else?
I know what it's not.
All right. I work in a school and we've got.
I was just going to add a little bit there, mate. Neither do
We've
I.
got a synthetic grass, and every time the sun is out.
Yeah, every time the sun is out.
It sort of radiates and it has a like electricity. So every time the kids run around and touch each other, they get a shock.
Correlation is not causation.
So my thing is, if Globers believe that the sun is a gas, how comes we don't feel like electricity when we're at a bonfire, at a campfire, or anything like that? I just want to get your opinion. What you think?
I think it's kind of non sequitur, if I'm honest.
I'm not sure what is meant by feel electricity in this example.
Yeah, your question's kind of malformed, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and it's not
So
about
we feel
anything we went out
from gas.
I'm sorry.
Correct.
It's not about anything in the Flat Earth proofs, the presentation. So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, is there anything?
I just thought I'd put that point across.
Sure. Is there any is there anything in regards to any of the presentations? There was 5, I believe, that were up. Any remarks to that effect?
Oh, John's correct on all of them. He's spot on all of them. So absolutely fantastic presentation from John.
Oh, thank you very much. No, it's a pleasure. Next up, changed orders. It seems menace to sobriety. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, have you got a question?
Well, not really a question. I guess I was a little bit confused. I thought this episode was going to be flat Earth proof.
Okay, I sense from your tone that, for example, you have the best rebuttal to the advanced Sea Sparrow missile, for example. Could you explain that? How that's not proof that we're on a flat plane? Go ahead.
Well, the best rebuttal for that is just because I may not understand how a Sea Sparrow missile works doesn't mean that the Earth is flat.
That's not really a rebuttal, that's more a hand-wave dismissal.
Do you guys understand the heliocentric model?
Sorry. You've just hand-wave dismissed one of them that I picked at random. So there's been several that were up. Do you want to pick one and tell us your thoughts on that specifically, as opposed to quizzing us on our knowledge of the heliocentric model? I mean, we can get to that once the live show's over. Don't get me wrong. It'll be a free-for-all.
Well, it's just the simple things like when you mention the Earth not spinning under a helicopter. I mean, the heliocentric model doesn't state that it should spin under a helicopter. So I'm wondering if you guys really understand the heliocentric model or not.
Okay, sure. That's fair enough. So do you appreciate that in the heliocentric model, it's alleged to have a Coriolis effect? Do you appreciate that, first of all?
Yeah.
And what do you understand the Coriolis effect to be?
Well, in layman's terms, if the Earth is spinning at, say, 1,000 miles an hour at the equator and you're heading north, that change in speed, because the Earth is a sphere, so the further north you go, the slower the spin is, that results in the Coriolis effect. It's
okay, no worries. No worries. So what you're saying is, as you travel north, the speed that the Earth rotates underneath changes, is what you're saying.
Well,
it's just a yes or no question. What?
If
I'll just clarify. Sorry, just a yes or no. Sorry,
north
my friend, I've got a supplementary question. I just need a yes or no. It was a closed question. I'm summarising what you've just said. You said 1,000 mile an hour spin at the equator, travel north, it turns slower underneath. Correct?
It's the difference in speed of the spin of the Earth that results in the Coriolis.
Yes. The difference in speed that it turns underneath. Yes, my friend? Just say yes. That's what you've just stated. See, this is the problem with Coriolis, right? He's made his position. All I'm now trying to do is literally get him to confirm the very words he said, but he doesn't want to, because he knows that the very words he said undoes his own argument, because he's just made a claim that the Earth rotates underneath, in spite of the fact that his opening gambit was to say that helicopters wouldn't experience the Earth rotate underneath. So, Johnny Globehead, do you now appreciate that you're holding a contradiction with your example, or not?
No, that projectile leaves the equator. It's moving at 1,000 miles an hour. And as it heads north, where the atmosphere is, say, now spinning at 600 miles an hour, you're going to see an apparent deflection.
Well, no.
But the Coriolis isn't the Earth spinning underneath a hovering object like a hot air balloon or a helicopter. That's not what Coriolis is at all.
I see. So are you now saying... I misunderstood. Are you now saying that the Earth and atmosphere spin together?
In general, yeah.
In
Basically.
general, you don't. There's no in general. They either do or they don't. It's a yes or a no. Yes or no.
Unbelievable. Did he listen to the presentation?
Hold on. We'll just undo this other side of it, John. He's switched his rhetoric from the Earth spins underneath to now apparently the Earth doesn't spin underneath. The atmosphere spins with it. So we'll just unpack that as well. So do you now, let's see if we'll clarify this. Do you now assert that the Earth and atmosphere travel as one?
Well, they move together, but it's not like they're glued together.
Yeah, travel as one, move together. It's
friction,
okay, you just need to say yes or no. I don't need to know the word salad after. So you do assert that they travel as one. Oh, well then there's no Coriolis effect. Problem solved. Anything else you'd like to address? Preferably without contradiction this time. Not doing so well so far with your assertion that we haven't proven anything. The Earth does not rotate underneath. There is no Coriolis effect. We're stationary.
And it doesn't have anything to do with equator, longitude, or latitude lines. It has nothing to do with that. He didn't listen to the presentation.
Yeah.
So.
In order to have a Coriolis effect, you would need an inertial and a non-inertial reference frame. I.e., you would need the Earth to rotate underneath to have a Coriolis effect. I.e., if you assert that the Earth and atmosphere travel as one, then you don't have a Coriolis effect. Neil deGrasse Tyson's example wouldn't work very well if the Earth and atmosphere were travelling together, would it? He says that if ball gets thrown, the Earth rotates underneath, and the ball goes in a straight line. Yeah, Coriolis effect. But if they're travelling together, then there's no deviation. So that unpacks that other side of the nonsense. Like I say, typical example of a globe head coming in, telling us that, well, why would you assert that the Earth rotates underneath a helicopter? It wouldn't. Because we've got an example where we travel north and the Earth rotates underneath at different speeds. Oh, right. That's concise and double speaky. Great example. Point proven. Anyway, menace to sobriety. Have you got anything else that you'd like to address that was presented here? Got maybe 10 minutes left.
No, I think that's about it. I'm still not sure if you just don't understand the helium model.
I agree, mate. That's a wrap. Anyway, we've got Righteous Force. How you doing? Good to have you.
Hey. Just a question to John.
Go ahead.
Why is the Sparrow missile better than the magnetic railgun? As an example.
Good question.
Yeah, I used to use the railgun back in the day, but it got so convoluted because the ballers came back that it was an indirect fire weapon. I just got tired of I got tired of laughing. So I still have that argument in the arsenal. I just haven't pulled it out in like 2 years. I just like the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile for some reason, because I like the line of sight and the target illumination radars. It's really killer. So, but I do like the railgun. I'd put the Evolved Sea Sparrow missile just because it's a little more cut and dry. There's nothing that they could really do about it. I realize that their indirect fire railgun is a tear-jerking belly laugher. I just got tired of arguing it. That's all.
Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
Last but by no means least, we've also got Zanik. How you doing, Zanik? Can you hear us? He's got us the whole hangout on mute, so maybe not. He's disappeared. Okay, cool. I think pretty much everybody's been asked. Is anybody new? Oh, Pinocchio. We do have a new guest. How you doing, Pinocchio? Can you hear us?
He's usually not speaking, so I don't think that he will now.
No, fair enough. Okay, well, I mean, I'm happy to get some closing remarks from the panel, and then I'll round out and reschedule the Flat Earth debate. I think it's 879. That'll go out at 10 p.m. UK time, which is about 10 minutes approximately from now. So be there. Keep doing it. Be here or be sphere. It's on this channel. So yeah. But yeah, any closing remarks then in that case?
I'll jump in then. I've enjoyed it. Hard to argue with any of them. I think all of them in themselves lend, like they're not scientific, but they do use logic, reason, and the bloody obvious to point out that whatever it is, it's certainly not a ball of said dimensions. And thanks again, John. Great presentation tonight.
Yeah, I second that. Great presentation. Hoping to get some closing remarks, ladies. Have you both disappeared?
Nothing new. It's the same stuff. In general, the reactions are, the usual personal attacks, or you don't understand, or cherry picking, or anything and everything but directly on point. As the one guest earlier couldn't name a specific thing that was inaccurate, but it was all, they say it's all lies, but can't give one example of a lie. And of course, lying means intent to deceive, whereas people can be mistaken. So calling it a lie is itself a lie, and we go back to contradictions again. So, all I can do is observe that, not explain it.
Seems like you're going to get the final words on the after show, Betty. But I will say, if you're watching this on the Nathan Oakley stream, then do stay tuned, as there will be an after show with our guests on Discord to follow. So, Betty?
Yeah, like Paula said, it is the same arguments, and I've been monitoring Discord. There are questions there, but they don't go on the panel to ask them there. So I hope that people will find the nerves or the less be a coward to just come on and state what they stated in Discord. I mean, here's the chance. This is the chance to debate or give you a rebuttal. And I think it's a little bit cowardice not to do so. I think that everybody gets a fair chance to bring it, right? So hopefully next time people will come.
Cool. About you, John, you got anything to add before I thank you and the panel and everyone on Discord, and suggest that everyone clicks the link in the info box to go to the Flat Earth debate that's going to start shortly?
Sure. For the Baltard's next therapy appointment, go ahead and bring this scary movie with you. Okay? Bye-bye now.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you, first and foremost, to all of you who joined us in the live audience. As I say, stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, as there will be an after show to follow. If you're watching live, though, there is a link going by in the chat feed for the Flat Earth debate number 879, which will be premiering just after this show finishes. So tune in, be here or be sphere. Also, of course, a massive thank you to all of the BALLBUSTERS, which is Betty, Paula, Adam, and Quantum Eraser. And last but by no means least, a massive thank you to all of the live public audience who joined us on Discord to challenge the assertions made here. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next BALLBUSTERS.